Hi, everybody, and welcome to the Cleveland Browns brief postgame show. I'm your host, fairly furry bovine. Not feeling very good, not just about the Browns. I could really care less about that. It's mainly a tooth extraction that is giving me a lot of difficulty. And so I don't want to stick around here for a whole hell of a lot of time. But if you read the scroller below, it's so obvious that Kitchens has lost the team and that the organization is responsible for the demise of this franchise. And by announcing before the game that, hey, Freddie's going to be back next year and leaking reports, and then watching the team come out and put forth no effort whatsoever, it should be obvious that it's just obvious, as the announcer said, they don't have the head coach's back, and they don't have Haslam's back, but Haslam has all the power. It's just like complaining about your government or your Congress or your president or whatever. You have no sway. Your taxes go up, they go up. Everything goes up in price. Your health care price premium goes up. You have no control. Well, obviously, the players have no control. You and I have no control. There's no reason left to follow the organization. As far as I'm concerned, it's like I said weeks ago, I'm off the wagon. I am not a Browns fan any longer. I can't stand watching it. It's really difficult, this is true. I mean, Jarvis had his hands at his head when Freddie was trying to talk to him, and he just didn't want to blow up. He's trying to just say, get out of my face. I don't want to make a scene here on the sidelines. But the fact of the matter is the players are tired of the same useless offensive scheme, the same idiotic coach, the decisions that are being made. And, they're risking their lives to play this game, and for what, we'll be talking about Baker Mayfield, as if this even matters. But, folks, I don't care if Baker gets hit by a car. I really don't care. They've turned him from a gunslinging Brett Favre literally into a nickel and dime check down quarterback. Whatever this offense is, I have no idea. The defense came out and put in no effort. That's correct, Rick. And it is an unfortunate, and we can predict what their final record's going to be. It doesn't matter. Freddie Kitchens comes back. I'm off. I'm gone. I don't want to do this no more. And I hurt right now, so I know that's talking somewhat. But what's the use of analyzing something like this? I mean, we took the quarterback's greatest strength and took it away from him. And Freddie Kitchens installed instead the get rid of it quick 3-yard out pattern when you need 5 yards. It isn't just the play calling. The offensive scheme, the players don't know where to line up. It's just, and I'm tired of hearing about we have this weapon and that weapon. I do want to say that Nick Chubb is the best running back in the National Football League, and one announcer did at least finally acknowledge that he is the best in the game, and it's a shame that he's wasting his lower extremities and his brain playing for an organization like this. This is correct too, Derek. It is a situation where we refuse to play to the strength of a given player, and instead we just keep trying to fit this square peg into a round hole, and it just doesn't go. Go in. Of course, it's totally disorganized because look at the people who are running it. Jimmy Haslam knows nothing about football. All he knows is how to suck, Peyton Manning's dick. That's all that Jimmy Haslam knows, and how to suck the majority owner's dicks of the Pittsburgh Steelers. That's all Jimmy Haslam knows. And Freddie Kitchen, fat fuck that he is, hasn't seen his penis in decades. I mean, one of his comments recently was, I know a little bit about losing because I was a losing quarterback in Alabama. As if that's something to be proud of, Freddie. You got this institution with the people that the ESPN is calling the number one and the number two greatest coaches in history, which I'm going to question anyway, but Bear Bryant and Nick Saban. And sure enough, there's Freddie Kitchens bragging about the fact that he was a loser when he played at Alabama. And this is what I keep telling everybody. This guy's going to lose no matter what. No matter what. He has no pedigree. It's just terrible. And it isn't that Freddie got beat by a coach. Freddie will lose everything. He'll lose his home. He'll lose his wife. He'll lose his family. This guy will lose everything because he's a loser. I mean, you can tell by looking at him that he is a guy who's just going to run this into the ground. That's what he does. And he knows no other way except that. He's just has blinders on, and he's just congenitively stupid. And Mark, you're right. The fact that we were overhyped, I tried to warn before the season began, if you watch the regular Moohead radio program, that things aren't easy in the NFL when you try to install a new offensive system and players are not up to snuff with it. And then you don't play them during the preseason. And this is the other thing, Thomas, and I think it really is the schism of the Cleveland Browns. The real dilemma is that I don't see Baker Mayfield commiserating with his wide receivers. I don't see Baker Mayfield chatting it up with his offensive line. I see Baker Mayfield as an extension of Freddie Kitchens now, and they both got to go. Okay? Thomas, I agree with you 100%. Baker's I'm going to tell it like it is kind of guy. Well, you're not telling it like it is at all. And you're letting really good players and people who could help you out rot on the bench. So, Kitchens does have to go, but Mayfield, as far as I'm concerned, can follow him out the door. Because a leader of men, whether it's the head coach or the quarterback, a leader of men does not allow his players to stew like this without trying to rally them together. Hi, Bronk. How you doing?
Whoa.
What's up?
I don't know. What can you say? It was an absolutely terrible game. I have like a new thing for you to do. The paper chase Professor Kingsfield. Well,
Yeah.
You do a Kingsbury moment. You could give Sheldrick Redwine a quarter and tell him to call his mother that he's never going to play in the NFL again. It's a terrible game.
To me, it's one, then he has no brain, Derek. If Baker is brainwashed, then he has no intelligence and he's not smart enough to be a quarterback in the NFL. All right. One way or another, Baker Mayfield should have the backs of his teammates. He does not have Jarvis Landry's back. He does not have Odell Beckham Jr.'s back. He doesn't have David Njoku's back. And the only guy who's enthusiastic about all of this is a guy the Browns will not tender a contract to, and that's Joe Schobert, because he's too enthusiastic and wants to actually stay in Cleveland. We're going to bring Derek into the mix here real quick. Hi, Derek. How are you?
Well, thank you for going off the half screen.
What's up, Derek?
Jesus.
I guess Derek is not there. He's there. All right. I'm doing all right. I think there's a little delay on your end. Get in, get out. What is it you want to say, Derek?
All I was gonna say is, you were talking about Baker. I agree with you. He needs to be that leader. But at this point, why even try? They're not gonna. They're not gonna try with you. Why would you try with them? And I think that's where we're at as fans as well. And I know, I get it. He's your franchise quarterback. That's what he should do. But a 20-some-year-old kid, he really is. You know what? It's not his job, and it's not his fault. It's the organization's fault. Things got to change, but it won't, and it's sad.
Well, I mean, all the excuses that you can make, here's the bottom line about Baker Mayfield. He has a hitch in his throwing motion that he didn't have before. That's one. Number two, the ball's sailing out of his hand and it's consistently high and late. That's two. Number three, he isn't fired up, he isn't inspired, and he isn't inspiring the players around him, which is only letting this thing fester even more. The fact of the matter is, there is next year, all right? If you're looking at what Derek just said, and I disagree wholeheartedly with it. And the reason I disagree is there's next year. If these players are going to be asked to play for Baker Mayfield after this absolute Freddie Kitchens disaster, and Baker has done nothing to stand by their side to help them through this, they're not going to want to play for Baker next year, even if Freddie's gone. You see, the well has been poisoned. And the one thing that I can tell you is a team is a team and stands together. And sometimes the team has to stand up to a guy like Kitchens, and they have to say, we don't want to play for this guy. And I think that's really what they said today. And it's probably not going to change a whole hell of a lot. But the bottom line is that Baker, for all the comments that he makes, and he went off on the training people, which was the wrong target to be going after in the wake of OBJ's preseason injury. He's never stood up and said, there's something wrong with this offense. He's never stood up and said, anything but, we got to work on it, we got to get better. But he's not saying why he's been converted into a check down quarterback, why wideouts aren't seeing balls, why players like Higgins and Njoku are being deactivated and other players who really aren't very good, like Hodge, are getting playing time.
Oh, wow.
And he's not even targeting wide receivers. He's dumping it so much off to his tight ends and to his running backs. What is the explanation for this? But tell it like it is, Baker is not tell it like it is Baker. He's full of shit. He's another Oklahoman full of shit. And I'm tired of people who are full of shit. If you're going to stand up and say, I'm a stand-up guy and I'm going to tell it like it is, then tell it like it is. But don't try to fudge your way through this, because you're losing the fans and you've lost your teammates. Is one thing if the teammates were really going up against Freddie Kitchens, which they are in part, but who are they really supporting? You look at them on the sidelines and they're just dejected. They're not even talking to one another.
Yeah, exactly. The thing is, they're all just standing around. They're not interacting with anyone. Or they're sitting on the bench, even looking more glum. And then there was one shot towards the end of the game where Njoku's in street clothes, and he's like even way further back. No one's sitting by him, and Baker's looking dejected, and no one's talking to anybody. And
there's no communication. I don't think, Charles, that Baker's a bust. I think that I can make anybody a bust. If I'm Freddie Kitchens, I can make anybody fail.
Oh yeah, if you're in a bad work environment, you can kill off the brightest person in the entire world and make him not want to come in.
That's right. Bronk has worked for large companies. I've owned companies, and I can tell you this: the work environment makes a hell of a lot of difference. If people feel like they can really make a difference, and if there's a reason for them to be there, they're going to put more of themselves into it.
Yeah, they'll show up for 12 hours a day, but if they're not being treated with, if their effort's not being valued, then they won't give any effort. It really is that simple.
Well, what it says more, Daniel, than about Freddie is it says a lot about Haslam, about why you would offer somebody with such low credentials that head coaching position when when Dorsey's bringing in talent, why you would squander that talent on a guy who just is not only not proven, but is clearly incompetent. These are all questions that are worth asking. I will say this, that, if it were just the disappointment of this year, we've had a lot of disappointing years. But I'm going to say what I've said before. This is not getting better. This is getting worse. And the next 5 years are gone now. Because you're going to keep this asshole coach. And these players are going to be gone. The guys who are supposed to make the difference, Landry and OBJ, will be long gone. And, and nobody's going to want to come here in free agency because these big name players who tried to come here and turn things around couldn't get it done and got interference and flack from the owner of the team, and they're going to stay away in droves. That's what happens. And
the sad thing is we've got the best running back that we've had on the team for 50 years. Believe me, because you and I have seen all of them. And he's Nick Chubb's at least as good as Leroy Kelly, and he's putting up numbers that Jim Brown did in 1957 and 58. And my God, I mean, that was the only thing to look forward to in this game was when Chubb was given the ball, and you could watch him work and you could watch him play. But every time Baker didn't hand the ball off to Chubb, you were thinking, oh my God, what sort of fuck up is going to happen now? Or what sort of Jeff Garcia meaningless little pass over the middle are we going to try next?
And you never got the feeling, and the thing is with, good old high-risk Freddie, settling for the field goal on the on a 4th and short, and then, of course, he missed the field goal because Death Wish always gets his wish, which is death. He always makes the wrong decision.
Moment. The field goal was my Peter Ellis moment, the missed field goal.
With my tooth extraction.
You can't do it, though, but anyway. Maybe next week.
Yeah.
Even the BCOD is quit. The BCOD is not killing off people either.
Alistair's asking, why was Landry pissed? I mean, do I have to answer that for you? I mean, the same reason all the players are totally disengaged is because they're risking permanent brain damage for nothing. The only thing that's really in it besides the money for the players is the glory. Let's be honest about it. It's how many cars, how many watches, what kind of shoes, what kind of women. I mean, but when you take the joy away of playing the game, then they'll just take their paycheck, and you know what they'll do? They'll do exactly what the defense did today. They'll play a half speed, and they won't injure themselves. They won't get hurt. You'll watch Monday. It's like, so how do we look, Freddie? We're all healthy coming out of this game. Well, of course we are. Nobody was playing very hard. So that's what you get. So the reason that Landry is pissed is that he squandered important years of his career in a loveless, hateful environment where he just can't contribute and where there's no chance of moving the ball forward because the organization can't win with the guy who's at the top of the food chain and the guy he hired. That's why he's pissed off. And Kitchens is a liability because he is the proof that things aren't going to change. He's the proof that we're going to stick with, and it's going to be the thing that's interesting is, and we get this conversation a lot from Browns fans because we change head coaches so frequently, is, we should have stayed with Eric Mangini. We should have stayed with Rob Chudzinski. We should have stayed with Pat Shurmur. I want to ask you fucking retards, and I hate using that word, but that's what you are. You're slow. You're fucking slow. Tell me, how many of those guys made a difference later on? If we had stayed with them as long as you wanted us to stay with them, how would that have been the right solution? If you hire the wrong people, staying with them longer doesn't help whatsoever.
Yeah, they don't fucking improve, do they?
No, they don't improve, and that's the point. And let's bring Brian into the fray. Hi, Brian. How you doing?
Oh, I'm great. I'm just fucking ecstatic. Couldn't be better. By the way, earlier I wrote in the comments, but I don't think you saw it. You were turning into Louis De Palma. You're a loser, Riga. You're a loser.
Yeah, I mean
And for Chuckles, you're still a useless pile of fucking shit. Any fucktard can be a front runner. Any fucktard. Try and love a loser. Wait till the goddamn Ravens go 4-12 for consecutive years. Then we'll see how much you fucking talk shit. You fucking ignorant scumbag. You are a chalk line.
Who are you talking to?
I have no idea
Charles
who he's talking to.
Pinkett.
Who are you talking to?
Charles Pinkett.
Oh, Charles Pinkett. Why? What's he saying?
The Ravens are everything. The Browns suck. But I got to put up with this guy 5 days a fucking week. And I'm done. I wanted to fucking be able to verbally I can't stomp you into the ground hard enough or long enough
Wow, Brian.
or into the goddamn sun deep enough to satisfy the rage that I really fucking feel for you. I hope that you get fucking AIDS and then walk out into the street and you get shot 972 times by your favorite fucking street
Hey,
cat.
I'll say this. I'm letting him get it out of his system because at least he's doing it harder than the Browns team did.
Yeah, he's showing a lot of effort there, Brian. Good effort.
The fact is, we would never get a decent head coach.
Yeah,
because
would you
they're not.
love my fucking fist driving all the way through your goddamn body?
All right. I have to be able to get a word in edgewise in my own program. Sorry. Let's cool off a little bit. Again, a decent head coach wouldn't come here because this is a place where head coaches rot. Okay. And historically, this is where head coaches come to die.
Correct.
And if you're a young up-and-coming coach, you don't want to come here anymore because you get off to such a bad start, nobody will take you seriously for years, perhaps decades, and you can't have it. You'll end up back in the college game in no time flat, and maybe at a position lower than you were when you came to Cleveland. So young up-and-comers aren't coming to Cleveland. And decent head coaches would not be considered by people like Jimmy Haslam because you couldn't control them. You see, Jimmy Haslam has to find the dumbest stump, the dullest knife in the drawer that he can find, that he can control, and that was Freddie Kitchens. So as long as you understand how this works, how it happens, that's how it goes down.
There's only one exception. There's only one coach that ever came to Cleveland that ended up making something of himself when he left, and that was Bill Bloody Belichick.
That's
And
right.
he was a special case because he had Tom Brady and he had Robert Kraft. Only exception.
I would say that Schittenheimer was pretty successful too.
I would too. And
the
looking
San
back,
Diego Chargers and the Chiefs to the playoffs.
you know what I would tell you, Brian, and I agree with you 100% on that, is that when Marty was the coach, we were all despondent over the fact that he couldn't get over the final hurdle and that he relied too heavily on his defense and his offense would not score quite enough points, and then the defense would be on the field at the critical moment. We'd watch John Elway or whoever go down the field. There were far too many losses like that. But one thing we can say about Marty Schottenheimer is that Marty Schottenheimer instituted discipline on his team, and his players played hard for him. And he never had this much talent. Let me tell you that.
Oh, God, no.
So, I mean, and then he did go to Kansas City and did a good job there, although he couldn't get over the hurdle.
Yeah, he didn't last all that long either. He didn't last the years, obviously, that Belichick has led. Schottenheimer, I think, had maybe 5 years at the most. I mean, somebody go look it up. But he wasn't all that popular when he went to these other teams. He didn't last long there.
And hey, El Presidente, the suicide passes are because throwing these slants is so predictable, that the defensive secondary is watching film on this and is just sitting there waiting to tee off on people coming across the middle. I mean, Landry almost got killed. I mean, Beckham almost got killed. And the fact of the matter is that it's just a predictable offense. It can't possibly be the offense that Monken wanted run, but Monken will be gone, and who knows what will happen next year. I mean, it will be worse, I imagine.
Well, much worse because Prefer will be gone too.
Yeah, and you know, people talking about Mike McCarthy, and here's a question: why is Baker so inaccurate? And the answer is, if you don't trust what you see with your eyes, your reflexes are slow. So what I see in Baker is that Baker is just not sure with what he's seeing, and he takes that extra tick. He was patting the ball earlier, that extra tick, and by the time he throws the ball, it's behind the receivers, it's late. It results in deflected passes, or in some instances, he's not getting and stepping into his throws in the right way. And I think that it will come to pass that he was hurt in his rib cage and his throwing arm and hand during the course of the season. But I think they need to work with him on mechanics seriously, and they've got to give him an offense that he understands the tempo and pace of the offense. The other thing I want to say, I don't want to interrupt you, Brian. The last thing I want to say is, the hurry-up offense just disappeared in this system, which was a big part of Baker's success last year, was just running that hurry-up, and he would put pressure on people. And this year, instead, we're slow getting up to the line of scrimmage, and teams are pressuring us. What's up, Brian?
Well, I was just going to say, and as great of a guy as Ryan Lindley is, I'm sorry, he's not Ken Zampese. Ken Zampese had Baker drilling it into his head that he needed to be mindful of his mechanics on every single drop back. And I don't think he's getting that. And his mechanics have been off since the preseason, before the preseason, since minicamp.
Yeah, I mean, this system just hasn't worked.
How many picks did he throw in minicamp? You know, it was like every day. Oh, the defense. Oh, they got another interception. They got this. And they got pass breakups. Well, you know, something's got to give.
Anyway, I like the quote by Jason there. That's an interesting comment. I'd probably go for that. Get Burrows and trade Baker Mayfield and Odell to the Bengals. It's not a bad idea.
You know, and Charles, I'll say this to you, and I appreciate everybody who takes the opportunity to tune into the program. But this is not about trolling anybody. This is not about trying to agitate anybody. We're just trying to analyze what happened in a football game and what's happening with an organization. And, you know, other teams, the Steelers, the Ravens, have nothing to do with what has happened in the Browns organization. That is the organization's fault. And we can't say, oh, out of nowhere, the Ravens came and did this and that. Good for them. I mean, I feel happy for the people of Baltimore and good for the people in Pittsburgh that they've overachieved without their primary quarterback. That's wonderful. But that has nothing to do with the Cleveland Browns whatsoever. And, there is no good reason to sit here and try to, provoke, because there's no provocation from me anyway, and if you continue, you'll just get bounced. You know, if you want to get bounced, Charles, just keep it up. Yes.
Or you could do the world a favor and find the nearest wood chipper and take a flying leap head first. That would be great.
Okay. Baker Mayfield is uncomfortable with the offense. It looks like the whole squad, the wide receivers are uncomfortable with the offense. The offensive linemen are uncomfortable with the offense. I mean, it's from head to toe. So yeah, that's the deal is this, Mark. Should Baker be replaced? And the answer is Baker's going to have a come to Jesus meeting with his teammates. And the fact of the matter is, he's got to start acting like a leader.
Correct.
And he's got to stand up for what's right. And if that gets you thrown off the team, so be it. The fact of the matter is, if you're more interested in your commercials and your side income and that kind of thing, then you're not telling it like it is. This is a grown-ass man's game. And it's no different than any war. when you're in a foxhole with a bunch of guys, these are the guys who have your life, and then their lives are in your hands too. You have to trust one another implicitly. It's a dangerous game. And if you can't trust the guy who handles the ball on every play to distribute the ball, there was a play where Baker got sacked, where Demetrius Harris went out into the flat.
Olay.
No. The design of the play was for him to do a quick block and go out into the flat, and he was supposed to get the pass. And afterwards, he was like this. But if Baker isn't running the plays the way they're supposed to be run, then, everyone is just not on the same page here.
Yeah, it looked like he was meant to get the pass on that play. And,
I think I know what happened to the Browns. They all went and pulled a train on Pinkett's mother behind her dumpster.
Oh, here we go.
I just blocked him. We're not. We're not going there. You're welcome, Jeff. We keep hoping, and it doesn't really, do anything about it. Nothing changes really. I think that the offense has to be reevaluated. The head coach has to be replaced. An offensive scheme that highlights the strengths of Baker Mayfield. I think Baker has to get in a better physical condition. I really do. I think he gained weight and he looks too portly to me. I think he needs to settle down with the guys who are his receivers and in the offseason work out with them. I think he has to rededicate himself and the system has to be changed. And that goes hand in hand with getting rid of the head coach. I mean, the Browns wanted to see if there was going to be a complete meltdown, and that was the basis. They say, well, Freddie's going to be here unless there's a major meltdown. Well, losing 38 to 24 to a 3-9 team, and you're not in the game at any time, and you're not even trying, and they're running for 222 yards against you. I say that's a meltdown, and I think that what that is it's the team
with
passing
with the backup running back from fucking Miami. It's right.
Yeah, I mean, it is an evaluation on the players' part of the head coaching situation and who they don't want to play for. It's really that simple.
So they gave up. I mean, the Cardinals have won one game a month this year. One game a month. Like they're hardly a great team. They quit. We should quit. I don't have anything more to say. I think Brian's run out of people to yell at in the chat room.
Yeah. Hey, my brother, you're going to get your wisdom tooth pulled. Hey, I hope it's easier than my extraction was. So mine wasn't a wisdom tooth. Here you go.
Ooh. Why did it take 45 minutes? My mother-in-law had a tooth pulled. It fucking came out in like 2 minutes.
2 years ago, I had one, and it came out in 4 minutes. And this one, what happened was there was bad dental work previously done on it, and there was a bad filling. The filling flew off, and the tooth shattered into like a gazillion pieces, right? And one of the pieces flew out of my mouth and landed in the surgeon's pocket. I swear to God, it was like a trick shot. It was like Willie Moscone, all right, lower tooth in the corner pocket, and it would not fucking come out, and it was shattered into so many pieces they had to drill. Instead of using the forceps, which they kind of go back and forth, and then what they do is they kind of scoop out and it comes up. Instead of that, they had to drill the individual pieces and pull out individual pieces and then pull out the rest of the tooth. So it took 45 minutes, 45 fucking minutes of my life that way.
Is it safe? Is it safe?
Exactly. I mean, I felt like Dustin Hoffman. Absolutely. But don't worry.
I'm reminded of the Bill Cosby dental story where it ends with, "Oh look, a rainbow."
I remember the Bill Cosby story where the woman wakes up and said, "What happened?" Okay. All right. But little TYG, don't worry. The truth is that the vast majority of extractions take an average of 14 minutes Mine took 45. This is a worst case scenario. You're going to be fine. Believe me, you're going to be fine.
My wisdom teeth were 90 minutes because they had to be surgically removed. So
yeah, if they're impacted, if you have an impacted wisdom tooth, oh, bets are off.
Well, they did all 4 at one time on both sides.
Oh, yeah.
So wisdom, yeah.
Well, everybody, I want to say thanks for coming to the post-game show. I appreciate it. And, we'll be back tomorrow on Moohead Radio. God willing, my tooth is okay. We'll go right back out there and we'll talk about this game and we'll have more to say about it. And
who knows? I might find another Raven troll to yell at.
I don't know what
he has quit.
I really don't know why Ravens fans would be this way because I've been supportive of the Ravens, but thanks everybody in the chat room, and we'll be back again hopefully tomorrow on Moohead Radio. I'll be writing about it on my Twitter feed. Until tomorrow, hasta la vista, pasture heads. Good night.
Moo.
See you later.